Good day and welcome to this week's episode of Strictly Legal on WESN Content Capital. I am your host, Rondell, Donawa, attorney at law once again. I'm happy to bring the law and you. It's a bright Thursday morning in Trinidad and Tobago, and we welcome everyone, including the Caribbean and the world. Of course, you can stream us on WESN CC, as well as all social media, including our podcast, Strictly Legal with Rondell Donawa. So today's episode is a bit different. We are going to speak about a foundation that has been recently installed called the Surrender Foundation. And this has been founded by attorney at law Chantal Paul, operating from San Fernando of Chantal Paul and Associates. What is the Surrender Foundation? She will tell you more about it. But before, I would want to introduce and read who is Ms. Chantal Paul, attorney at law. She is a lawyer of 9 years standing, and her principal practice is Chantal Paul and Associates. From 2013 to now, Ms. Paul has majored in the field of criminal law, which would have inspired her most recent endeavor as the founder of the Surrender Foundation, which was founded, as I said, this year, 2022, as a non-profit organization geared towards reducing crime in Trinidad and Tobago. Apart from law, Chantal is also certified in mediation and negotiation skills training and has also completed her reading in the MSc in Strategy, Leadership and Management, wherein she is currently in the process of composing a thesis on the topic Women Entering the Field of Criminal Law. Chantal is also the managing director of her own real estate and construction company. She's also well known in her community of Marbella East for her extensive charitable work via quarterly hamper drives, the provisions of non-pro bono legal services, and the hosting of events geared towards the community enhancement. And at 31 years of age, she has proven to be ambassador for positive change in her country and the community, and believes her only purpose in life is to serve the people and God. Well, God first, of course. And Chantal is my colleague. We have practiced together, and I'm very happy to have her here in studio. Good day, Chantal.
Good morning, Rondell. Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
And thank you for agreeing to come. I know it has been a long time, but I'm happy that you are here. And of course, as we said today, we are going to speak about the Surrender Foundation. So tell your audience, what is the Surrender Foundation?
The Surrender Foundation is a recently registered non-profit organization geared toward reducing serious crime in Trinidad and Tobago.
And of course, you being an attorney at law, mainly specializing in criminal practice, tell us, why is it that you felt the need to start this foundation, basically?
Well, having been involved heavily in a criminal law practice for the past 9 years, I would have gotten the opportunity to relate to persons in the criminal justice system. And I would have also gotten the opportunity to build relationships with a lot of my clients who are currently in the criminal justice system. And that one-on-one has allowed me to understand the criminal mind and some of the reasons why persons get involved in crime. And having understood why persons get involved in crime, I am of the belief that solving crime, although it may be difficult, it is not impossible.
And of course, as you said, difficult, but it's not impossible. Now tell us, the Surrender Foundation, I know you said it's a crime prevention NGO, but tell us how do you expect, I know there's a lot of different NGOs that are about. So tell us what will make you different, and how do you expect to achieve your goals in this endeavor?
Well, Rondell, the Surrender Foundation plans to take a multidisciplinary approach to solving crime in Trinidad and Tobago. A lot of the measures we see implemented by other areas in society, they tend to suppress crime. So what we see them doing is basically trying to cure cancer with a Band-Aid, and the cancer is just spreading. We at the Surrender Foundation, we plan to deal with crime from the root come up, as opposed to curing the symptoms of crime.
And what sort of mechanisms that you have in place to ensure that whatever your goals are achieved?
Well, what we plan to do is identify high-risk schools, high-risk villages, etc., and get into those communities, get into those schools, and start programs and seminars based on self-awareness, based on crime prevention, because studies have shown that most persons who have been involved in serious crimes involving firearms, for example, have come into contact with their first firearm before the age of 17 years. And that is why it is so important to target the youth. So we at the Rondell Foundation plan to go into these schools and high-risk areas and deal with the youth to try to prevent them from coming into the criminal justice system, as opposed to waiting until they are in the system and then trying to get them out. Now, that is the main goal of the foundation. But of course, we also intend to deal with persons who are currently on remand and convicted and are trying to reintegrate themselves back into society.
And that is my next area in terms of speaking on restorative justice. Of course, that concept is widely known and used in different jurisprudence. What do you think about that particular type of justice system, or restoring that offender back into society? What are your thoughts as to the present system that is in place?
Well, over the years in Trinidad and Tobago, we have seen a shift from more punitive and penal measures to restorative measures. The prison has done a lot of reform. They have implemented programs whereby persons can further their studies. I saw recently that they have an annual art gallery, etc. The court system, the judiciary, have also done a lot by the introduction of the family and children's courts, etc., to try to take the workload off of the system, right, so that criminal matters can move more freely through the court. But these initiatives, in my opinion, it is not enough. More needs to be done, because Trinidad and Tobago has a very high incarceration level, but it is not correlated to the decrease in crime. We are seeing a high incarceration level, but yet no decrease in crime. So clearly, something is not working, or more needs to be done. Restorative justice is an approach to justice whereby persons are held accountable for their actions, but at the same time, we try to give just sentences. We try to enhance them whilst in custody, not to expose them to inhumane conditions, and then to assist them when they come out of custody. So as to try to reduce repeat offending, or recidivism, as it is commonly known. So we at the Rondell Foundation, we plan to assist in restorative justice by getting in touch with all the stakeholders, the judiciary, the prison, to work together as part of a whole puzzle, to try to cease repeat offending.
Now, of course, it sounds well in theory, but in terms of in practice, of course, there's resources that is needed. Now, in terms of personnel, what are your strategy in terms of using, let's say, personnel who are qualified to really bring across that change that your foundation so desires?
Well, as I said, we are going to reach out to all the major stakeholders involved. The other directors on the Rondell Foundation, Ms. Julie Gayadine, she hails from ARIMA. She is a researcher and has done extensive research in this area of the criminal justice system. And also Mr. Adam Lakai, who is an ex-convict, having served over a decade in prison for a capital offense. So that is our base, and we are currently seeking volunteers to come on board with us to assist us in this endeavor. I have spoken to numerous of my criminal law colleagues who have pledged to render their assistance for this cause.
Of course, there are other parallel type organizations like your Vision and Mission, etc.
Yes, of course.
What is your what is your strategy to involve or to partner with other NGOs? Because at the end of the day, everyone wants to achieve the same goal.
Yes.
Is there any vision to partner with such NGOs to reach a wider audience or a wider community?
Yes, of course. We intend to partner with NPOs and NGOs locally as well as abroad, not only in seeking funding, but also in teaming up for the greater good. Also, because we are so recent, we won't know everything, so we look forward not only to assistance in terms of financially, but also guidance on how we can go about achieving what we want to achieve.
And this is a cliche question. Of course, persons may think, well, you are a criminal attorney, you are defending criminals. Then on the flip side, you have established a crime prevention NGO to deal with offenders. Now, explain to the public, why is it that you feel the need, or why is it that you are defending criminals, but yet, well, I'm not saying criminals in that open sense, but persons who are charged with crime and now trying to prevent them from furthering crime?
Well, firstly, Rondell, I am a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago. I live here, I have a son, and I would like all citizens to feel safe. I have spoken to a lot of my clients, and I can tell you off the bat, they want to come out of the system. They do not want to repeat, and I think that they need help. You see, when we're talking about solving crime, we need to tackle crime from a more socio-economic, cultural, and individualistic approach, and that is what we at the Surrender Foundation plan to do. So I do not see it as being a hamper to my law practice in any event, because I practice many other types of law, but I really want to help these individuals, because at the end of the day, crime is everybody's business. I really want to give them the assistance that they need. I want them to know that there is hope, and I want to provide a net that can catch them before they reoffend or enter into the system.
And of course, there's a concept of what you call nature versus nurture. And sometimes, as you would know and being experienced, that some persons did not voluntarily decide to enter into the system. I know you would have been instrumental as well with respect to one of my programs, my series, Crime and Punishment in Trinidad and Tobago, where I would have interviewed an ex-convict. And if you permit me, I know that was one of your clients.
Correct.
And if you look at his story was a very interesting story, whereby he was forced to do certain things, right? And of course, it's not a matter of, at the time, you did not know or you weren't aware, and because of the nature or the environment that you have been involved in, and because getting into the system, you are now aware as to, okay, what is right and what is wrong.
And that is why I would have stated that we need to tackle crime from a socio-economic and cultural sense, because what we at the Surrender Foundation plan to do is go into these communities and deal with persons such as single mothers, because of a lot of persons who are incarcerated come from single parent homes, So we want to deal with the societal issues, with the economic issues, assisting persons in gaining employment, assisting with children who may be unsupervised, and I think that if once that approach is adopted, we could seriously then say that we are preventing crime as opposed to fighting crime. We don't want to fight crime, we want to prevent crime. And I think that that should be the goal of the country. I was reading an article recently where Dr. C. Prasad of the University of the West Indies, based on statistics provided on the TTPS website, would have concluded that it is possible that by the year 2030, we could be looking at around 780 murders per year. So if something is not done right away, there's no telling where we could end up in Trinidad and Tobago.
And that is very telling, because you start with, it starts with the youth. You have crime in school. You have a lot of, you have prevailing criminal activities in the school. Not only a matter of, you have knife crime, then you have illegal drugs, And it boils down to the question as to whether or not we as adults are really nurturing our children, right, to the best of our ability to prevent themselves from reaching to this point.
And that is where the individualism comes in. Because at the end of the day, it comes down to a choice. It comes down to morals and values, you know, because we could have two persons from the same area with the same economic background, exposed to the same criminal elements in the environment, and one person may turn out to be a contributing member of society and the other person might end up doing crime. You know, so it comes down to, that's where the nurturing comes in, where we need to ensure that there's no longer a breakdown of morals and values in society because it comes down to choice. So that individualistic approach is very important. A lot of times we ask ourselves, what is the Commissioner of Police doing about crime? What is the government doing about crime? But we don't ever stop to ask what we as individuals can do to prevent crime.
And of course, it boils down to it. I mean, long ago, in our parents' days, or even when we were younger, it takes a village, as we said, to raise a child, or a society to raise an individual. Yes. But now we are seeing where people are becoming so desensitized that literally if you're seeing someone's committing a criminal offense, you just pass by, or you video record, upload it, and hope for the best. And of course, we also have to look at the fact that witnesses are afraid to come forward because of the fact of reprisal.
Well, I was just about to get into that. You see, a lot of persons sometimes turn a blind eye to crime because we are a society that has begun to live in fear. And that is where we need to look at reform in witness protection programs. You know, we need to look at rooting out corruption from the top as well, because, you know, the subjects is a replica of the king sometimes, you know. So all these approaches must be taken simultaneously in order for us to really and truly tackle crime in this country.
Now let's touch, and you touch on a major aspect of witness protection. I mean, we have a witness protection unit, but is it enough to just have a witness protection unit and just put them in a safe house? Because a lot of times we've seen where persons who are placed in safe house, somehow someone is tipped off, and they know where they are, and they commit the crime, or they wipe out that entire witness totally.
Indeed, so we have had instances of that happening, and there needs reform in witness protection programs, because what I understand is that a lot of persons who are in the witness protection program sometimes feel imprisoned themselves, you know, and that is what causes them to leave where they are to, you know, venture out a little bit. So reform is dearly needed in that area.
And what about the psychological aspect of the approach of your foundation in terms of using social workers and using psychologists to actually assist, whether it is through, whether it is assisting victims, right, as well, because I know it's twofold. You have preventative measures, you have restorative measures, but what about assisting victims of crime?
Of course, assisting victims of crime is actually part of restorative justice, if we look at the definition of restorative justice. So we also aim to reach out to the victims of crime, and even where possible, let the offender make some sort of reparation to them if they are willing. You know, so reaching out to victims is definitely part of the agenda as well. And on your question of mental health, you know, studies have shown that the conditions of the prison system in Trinidad and Tobago is inhumane. And after someone goes through those inhumane conditions, then to be just thrown back into society, it is not the best thing. I am of the belief that, you know, psychologists, psychiatrists, etc., you know, needs to come on board to assist us in reintegrating these persons into society.
And we have another aspect of, okay, you're reintegrating the persons in society, but when it comes to getting employment, that's another stumbling block, because of course you have certain employers require certificates of character, And if
Yes.
you're seeing a conviction, obviously, on your character certificate, then it prevents that person, even though they are restored, from obtaining the job.
And that is why we need to educate persons and let them know that crime is everybody's business. We at the Surrender Foundation do intend to get the private sector involved as well, to assist us in getting employment for persons, because we don't want to just give a man a fish, we want to teach a man to fish, you know. So we also intend to go a lot into agriculture. You know, if perhaps we could get some of them into agriculture and, you know, they could sell the produce, they could be sustainable, you know. We intend also to do a lot of sports and cultural activities with these persons as well.
And I mean, just to the benefit of the listening and viewing public, do you have a contact information? Maybe we can put it up on the screen if we can.
Yes, well, as I said, because the NPO is so recent,
Yes.
we are still in the process of setting up the bank account. However, cash donations are welcomed.
And what about the contact
Yes,
information?
the phone number is 488
488, yes.
6445, and we implore persons who are willing to render their services, who are willing to volunteer, who may need assistance from us, to please reach out to us.
And that's 488-6445?
Correct.
Yeah, 488-6445. And just tell us where you are located.
Our main office is located at 2nd floor, corner of Keith and Harris Street in San Fernando.
And do we have an email address if persons want to get in touch with the organization?
surrenderfoundation@outlook.com.
surrenderfoundation@outlook.com. I'm not sure if, I know we have a bit of time again. Maybe we can put that up intermittently. surrenderfoundation@outlook.com, as well.
Correct.
As 6485.
488.
Sorry, 488.
6445.
6445. Right. So where do we go from here? When do you think that things will start running in terms of outreach programs, community programs, etc.?
Well, give or take, I would say by December, we should take off with a bang. We have not yet officially launched, but I would say by December.
By December. And at the end of the day, we understand the purpose of this foundation is to prevent crime and also to educate. Now, in terms of volunteers, is it that you are willing to accept volunteers to assist in your initiatives?
Of course, but there will also be a selection process for volunteers as well.
Indeed.
Yes.
And so tell us, in terms of merging your practice, because I know you don't only do criminal, you do family law, you do other areas of law. In terms of merging your practice, your experience to the foundation, do you think that you will be able to balance the both?
Most definitely. I have hired some junior staff who will be holding down my practice, my law practice for a while, so that I can really get time to focus all my efforts into this NPO, as I said, which will not only assist me, but it's really to assist Trinidad and Tobago as a whole.
And when we look at community policing, I know there's a lot of community policing, there's a lot of police youth clubs that will have been established. I know in South in itself, yes. When I was in public life at that time, there was the Toruba Police Youth Club. Yes. I know there's a Marbella Police Youth Club in your community.
Correct.
Now, are we also looking at targeting those youth clubs as well?
Of course. Bringing the TTPS on board is very important, and as I would have indicated earlier, we are geared towards targeting the youth. That is our goal. So we would definitely be reaching out to the different police youth groups, etc., throughout the country.
And when we say youth, I know you said schools, but then is it that we are going to look at schools in high-risk areas, or we are also looking at prestigious schools? Because we understand also in prestigious schools there are issues.
Of course, we would be looking at all schools. we would be targeting white-collar crime as well. You know, so all schools, not just schools in high-risk areas and schools that are prone to a high level of indiscipline.
Indeed. And Chantal, I know we are coming to the conclusion. So any closing statements that you want to give in terms of yourself and also what you intend to achieve?
Well, Mr. Donawa, as I said, the goal is to reduce crime in Trinidad and Tobago. I will soon be reaching out to all the stakeholders involved. And even though we have not yet officially taken off, as I would have said earlier, I implore persons who are in the criminal justice system to reach out to us. We are here to help you. I would like them to know that this is a foundation that does not judge, you know, and, you know, I came up with the name Rondell because I told myself, you know, to surrender means to give up or to give in. And we would like persons to give up their life of crime and give in to a new way of life. We would like them to know that there is hope. So we implore all persons in the criminal justice system to reach out to us, and we would also definitely be reaching out to them in the near future.
Yes, and that is Surrender Foundation at outlook.com. You're located second floor, corner Keita and Harris Street, San Fernando, and the number to contact is 488
6445.
445. Chantal, thank you so much for coming on the set.
It was my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yes, indeed. Thank you a lot. So do have a great day. Guys, it is a wrap. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. Of course, the Surrender Foundation is coming to a place near you. We are about positivity in Trinidad and Tobago because we know how things are. And before I leave, I will leave you with a quote. If you don't like the road you're walking, start paving another one. Do have a great day. God bless. And don't forget, Strictly Legal with Rondell Donawa on WESN Content Capital. Have a good day.